Like footwork in boxing, there are aspects to TFT that do not instantly present themselves as important. Which ones do you think they are? I mean, I'm not sure you read the title, so this is kind of a rhetorical question, but be honest, did you put a lot of thought into positioning when you initially played TFT? Well, it's time to start. Hey everyone, and welcome to another ProGuides TFT video. Today, we are going to be talking about one of the most underappreciated actions you need to take in TFT, positioning. There is a lot to tell, as it is usually one of the more advanced actions a TFT player starts working on, working their way up from Platinum or Diamond. Make sure to pay attention. I won't repeat this unless you rewatch the video, of course. We will talk about how to structure your turn first, then basic positioning and how to apply it. In our next guide video, we will talk about scouting, another very important function of a successful TFT rank climb. Before we dive in, I just want to let you guys know that we have a Discord community and a new subreddit that is growing really fast. We have you all to thank for that, and we want to continue building our community and helping you to be a part of it, so make sure you check the link in the description below. I'll see you guys over there. Positioning is an evergreen skill. TFT will always have need for it, and it transfers well to other strategy or auto-battler games too. Learning and applying it will create a qualitative difference in low platinum and below, winning you rounds that you shouldn't otherwise, and will be the edge you need above those elos to compete and rank up to the rank that you want. So let's go over structuring your turn first. Structuring a turn. This preludes the rest of the tips, as it will help you use the most underappreciated TFT resource better: time. After the initial getting used to it phase of each set, turn timers are 25 seconds. You have a lot to do in those 25 seconds, and structuring a turn is all about efficiency. During combat, you will have to decide whether you are leveling or rolling or both in the next round. If you are just rolling at 50 gold, you can do that in 50 seconds or so, leaving you with over 20 seconds to make any necessary changes to your comp and start scouting. If you are slow leveling to 50 gold, it's even faster. You can press F 3 to 4 times and then you are free to scout. Let's say you're doing both. Gotta go fast then. This typically happens at stage 4-3 when you level to 8 and roll to 30 gold or below. Level quickly and roll quickly. In turns like this, it is fine to take less time scouting, so feel free to use up to 15 seconds for leveling and rolling down. So what happens after leveling or rolling? Comp changes. Did you find an interesting unit in your free shop reroll? Does it impact your strongest board? Change it up quickly then. It shouldn't take more than 5 seconds. Mind you, positioning does not matter at this point. Next on the turn clock is scouting. There are two ways of scouting depending on time left. There's leaning scouting and full scouting. If you don't have time, you just quickly browse through the lobby and see where most players lean towards. If you have time, you note where their carries are, where the mech is, etc., as well as try to figure out who you will face next by looking at match history. Scouting should take from 3 seconds to a full 10 or 15, depending on how quick your repositioning mechanics are. Coming back from scouting, you have from 10 to 5 seconds to reposition your units to match the information you gleaned from your scouting. Now is when you do that. We will go over tips on how to counter position later in the video, don't worry. You thought this was it? What about items? Someone in the comments will say. Items are generally easy to figure out, so you can decide on the spot. The most important aspect, though, is that you should not combine items during your turn, as it wastes time. You always combine items in the interval between the portal activation at the end of preparation and the actual combat start. You can even do it during combat for items that are not Zephyr, Chalice, Zeeks, or Shroud, which activate on round start. This way, you save valuable seconds, which were hopefully better spent. Using hotkeys is integral to structuring your turn like this, so it would be useful to move them to the keys or mouse keys you like. Practice using this way of structuring your turn, and you will definitely notice great improvements in your play consistency. Give it a go. Positioning basics. There's a lot to say here, but since 1-hour videos are not really that popular, we're gonna go over the basics. Have you ever thought about what positioning essentially is in TFT? Positioning is the only way to influence the AI of the game into doing what you want it to do. By this definition, it's about making your units do what you want instead of what they want. Basic AI behaviors. Let's look at the basic behaviors AIs in TFT engage in. Like all good battle maniacs, units in TFT hit whatever is closest to them. That goes for ranged units as well, but it only concerns auto attacks. If no units are in their range, they will move towards the closest unit. When there are 2 units in range, who they go for is random. For example, an infiltrator jumping between 2 units in the back has 50-50 chance of hitting either of them. Units in TFT have unit collision, so they will have to move around to others to hit their intended target. What can we do about those basic behaviors though? Applications of positioning. There's a lot you can do. Let's go over some simple tricks, starting with anti-infiltrator positioning. When you know there are infiltrators dropping down on your back line, you can have a frontliner in the back ready to retrieve them. Another more elaborate way to treat non-AoE infiltrators is to position like this. This way, infiltrators will not be able to land in front of Vayne. There's no room. They will land to the side or in the front, delaying them from targeting your carry. The riskiest way is to position your carry in the front line. A very good example of this is Xayah carry, as she often targets the back line against leaning targets. Position her like this. Positioning her like this will be really good against the diving infiltrators while also being the optimal position against mech. If the mech is in front of Jarvan and Shen, Xayah will not be hit by it and will, well, shred it. You can even move her further up in the front line if it's safe. The final and probably most effective way, as it kills them instead of delaying them, is to have a carry in a position where they will target the infiltrators quickly. This can be done in two ways. You either have another melee carry like Aurelia close in the back, and you can block her to induce unit collision as well. That way, by the time the infiltrators go out of stealth, they will be Aurelia's closest unit, and you know what happens when she targets squishies. The other way is to actually position your carry against a frontliner that they will kill quickly. A good example of this is targeting the non-item frontliner first, like Nautilus, who dies in a flash. The following closest target is the infiltrator, and boom. All those are applications of the basic behaviors we spoke about before. You see how intricate it can get, since there aren't only infiltrators you're facing, but mechs, sorcerers, vanguards, and more. Using those basic behaviors to your benefit or their detriment, or both, is the key to unlocking that Platinum and beyond rank up. Spell-specific positioning. We said we'll cover the basics, but for once, there's homework for you too. Spells are, and probably always will be, an integral part of TFT. All spells follow a targeting mechanism, such as farthest unit like Urgot and Caitlyn, highest attack speed like Graves, highest HP like Syndra or Zoe, random like MF used to be, highest mana like Aurelia, or centered around the unit being hit like Gangplank. Those are just examples, and to gain true insight on how to use all of them, wait for it, read the tooltips. This is your homework for today if you want to improve in TFT. It doesn't take long, and you can do it in-game to remind yourself by just hovering over the spell description. Understanding how each spell works is integral to how you position a unit. Ahri and GP are probably the most famous examples. Ahri has a really high impact ult when hitting multiple targets, while it's underwhelming when hitting just one. As such, positioning is extremely important to her success, making her a good item carrier. Positioning her like this gives you the most bang for your buck, as the units wrapping around your front line will all be hit and get annihilated. Credit for this goes to a player in NA called Mismatched Socks, and you can find the link for the detailed Ahri positioning guide in the description. Gangplank is another good example of this, as he casts on the unit he is hitting. As such, he is only put in the middle and front of the map to both get more mana by getting hit, as well as getting the best possible ultimate out of him. Positioning your units in a way that you take advantage of their spell is applicable to most of them. Even the HP mechanic can be influenced. If you place a unit like Fizz with AoE damage on the backline units you don't want your Syndra to hit, you can manipulate your Syndra's second and onwards ult to be on that carry in the other corner. There are all sorts of little tricks like that you can do. Returning to default positioning and switching stuff around randomly is a good habit to get into as well to help confuse your opponents. You shouldn't really use it in lower elos, as people don't scout often or as well, but it's definitely a good mind game as you climb. Finally, let's look at one of the more interesting applications of hotkeys and positioning, the ghost technique. Yeah, it sounds like a natural move, but it combines positioning and scouting beautifully. You first pick up the champion you want to move, usually one bearing an item like Shroud or Zephyr, or an infiltrator that you want to throw onto an enemy's carry. The next step is to use whichever hotkey you bound to scouting and, well, scout. You notice that a ghostly outline of the champion is still there because I'm holding them and can move them around. This way you check how your opponents are positioning, and at the last second, you hover over the place where you decided to put your ghost, hit spacebar to go back to your arena, and release. This is a bit niche, but it's good to practice it, especially for those intense top 2 or top 3 battles where positioning is the key to victory. As always, feedback is appreciated, so hit us in the comments, and if you liked the video, hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see all of you on the next one. Now get out there and farm some LP using what you learned today.